So very good morning to all of you. Yes, please. Very good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Audible.
Yes. Thank you very much for all of you for attending the last 4 days all sessions without fail. I'm very happy that we have come to a conclusion today, and we are having 3 experts today. One is from Usman University, Dr. L. Sivaramakrishna, an expert in the additive manufacturing. The next session is myself, stress management for teachers. Third is another scientist D rank from ARCI, Dr. Sudhakar Sharma. He is an expert in the materials and metallurgy division and nanomaterials, and he'll be talking on nano boron. The last session is another expert having a great rank of scientist F rank from DRDO. So these are the sessions which I have today, and today is the last day of our FDP. So I'm thankful for all of you. Join these sessions and enrich your knowledge in the area of the experts teaching their experience and research. My sincere request to all of you is, after the sessions, all the sessions, you are supposed to give your feedback about FDP in the AICT website. We are collecting feedback for each session as per the AICT norms, but you are also supposed to visit AICT website where you have filled your application, and then you have to give the feedback about the FDP program, the total program. So that is one mandatory for all of the participants, without which the AICT will not send the certificates. So keep in mind, we will be reminding you at the last, all of you who should visit the website AICTE and then give the feedback about the program FDP on molecular manufacturing. We have successfully completed 4 days without any schedule. There are small changes in the schedule, that's all. There is no power problem. We are thankful to the God, and there are no internet issues also majorly. So I hope today also ends up without any difficulties. And Dr. Sivaramakrishna has joined already and will be starting the session shortly. Okay. Thank you one and all. If you have any queries, please try to share your doubts with the experts and then interact with them so that others will be benefited and also you will be benefited. This is my sincere request to all the participants in the workshop. Please interact and then discuss with the last 10 or 15 minutes we are allotting exclusively for discussions. Please participate and then enrich your knowledge. This is more. So my intention is, by the end of this 5 days program, every one of you should feel that there is a value addition for all of you after attending all these 15 sessions. I hope everyone will be happy after completion of this program on molecular manufacturing. Thank you. I welcome Dr. Sivaramakrishna, Professor of Usman University Department of Mechanical Engineering, to hand over the mic. And then before that, I'll ask Mrs. Anjani Devi to introduce our guest, Dr. L. Sivaramakrishna, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Usman University, Hyderabad. Please, madam.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Dr. L. Sivaramakrishna is presently working as Associate Professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Osmania University. He is presently working as Joint Director, Center for Product Design, Development and Additive Manufacturing, a Center of Excellence established under RUSA 2.0. And Nodal Officer, PMSS, Jammu and Kashmir, single point of contact for local chapters via NPTEL, NSS program officer, and faculty advisor for ME course on DFM. He has also worked as Joint Director of Evaluation Examination Cell, Usmania University. His areas of research interest include 3D printing, CAD/CAM, SIM, and cloud-based manufacturing systems. He has published 80 research papers at various referred international and national journals and conferences. He has visited Florida International University, Miami, USA, Tuskegee University, United Kingdom. He is a reviewer of many reputed journals like Institute of Engineers, India Series, C Journal, Springer Series, British Journal of Medicine and Medical Research, etc. He has won Best Research Paper Award in the International Conference on Recent Innovations in Engineering and Technology at Bhubaneswar. He is an editorial board member of the International Journal of Engineering, Emerging Technology and Advanced Engineering, IOP Journal. He has authored a textbook on production technology. He is a doctoral committee member of VIT University, Vellore, and also member board of studies for various engineering colleges. He has guided more than 60 ME projects and presently guiding 9 PhD students. He has delivered 75 guest lectures in various UGC and AICTE refresher courses, webinars, in-house training programs of prestigious organizations like BHEL, VDL. He has also organized various STTPs, international conferences, workshops. He has organized prestigious program, Global Initiative for Academic Networking with Professor Suman Das from Georgia Institute of Technology, USA, as a resource person. He has also done many research and consultancy projects in the area of 3D printing. He works with MDS Care Hospitals at Banjara Hills, Yashoda Hospital, Secunderabad, and Seaside Dental College, Mehboob Nagar, for solving various critical case-related cranioplasty and maxillofacial surgeries. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you, madam, for the introduction. First, I would like to thank Srinivasan sir for choosing me as a resource person for this faculty development program. Thank you, Srinivasan sir. And I also thank the principal of the college, Professor Ravindra Reddy sir, and also the management of CBIT for giving the opportunity to share what are the little bit experiences I gained while working in 3D printing for the past 12 years. And in this regard, I would like to present here some of the case studies. I am not going to talk all the fundamentals of 3D printing because that will be a different section altogether. But I want to highlight here why 3D printing is becoming so popular that it is part of Industry 4.0, and also it is selected by the AICT, and you can see a lot of Atal AICT programs are also being conducted on 3D printing and design, which is one of the thrust area recognized by AICT and DST. Let us understand the importance of 3D printing with the help of some case studies, the application, because 3D printing became very popular because of its applications. The research, if anyone asks how the research will start, it will start in the reverse way. That is, first you choose the application. Based on the application, you identify what type of materials you require and what type of 3D print technology that you have to adopt, and what are the parameters that you have to select, and you can work out, and you can do a very good innovative project. Why I put the title of my thesis is my presentation is, I hope sir I will be now doing sharing my PPT.
Share the screen.
I am sharing. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right.
Sir, there is a small change, sir. Our principal is Dr. Parthasarathi Verma, sir.
Oh, news. I don't know, sir. Okay.
Anyhow,
Parthasarathi Verma. And also, I thank Ravindra Reddy, sir. Sir is also known to us from beginning, because he is a very senior professor in the department. So I also thank him also, and the principal and the management of CBIT for giving the opportunity. And a special thanks to Srinivasan, sir. Right. Now, I hope the screen is visible, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, sir has put a very interesting title, molecular manufacturing. right? Any manufacturing starts with the molecular, but now it's going to nano level also. But 3D printing is works with that for raw material. So if you there is a lot of research on the raw materials for in 3D printing also. So as the title aptly suits our concept. So I have put my title as case studies on innovative application of 3D printing. Why it's innovative is let us see what is there on my screen. I hope it is visible to all. So you are able to see on the left side of my screen a butler skull. A patient got injured on the left side of his this called left parietal region. I hope you are able to see the cursor. Left parietal region of his skull. So this here there is a fracture here. So now how to develop implant for this fracture? That is the challenge for us. Now you might have thought, sir, as an engineer, how we are going to help the doctor. That's the craziness in this 3D printing. That's how you can work with different people. So you are very good in mathematics, so you selected my MPC and became an engineer, but the other guy was very good in BPC, he became a doctor. But now you both join hands to develop an implant that will solve the problem for the patient. That means you are saving the human race. This is what you can develop here. This you can develop using a technology called selective laser sintering. That this case study I am going to present to you how 3D printing is very useful in biomedical application. This is one very interesting area, and all this is the area where a lot of research have been done in 3D printing, and it's very popular in with most of the doctors also. I'm going to discuss some 2 to 3 to 4 case studies on how 3D printing can be used with biomedical application. That too live case studies that we have done. And you are seeing on the next, you are seeing a small like tube type thing. This is called CubeSat. You might have seen ISRO launches 100 satellites, the 50 satellites, etc. into the space. So among those satellites, you see most of them are very small satellites. They are called CubeSats, and these CubeSats will do some specific investigation. Like they'll be used for spying, they'll be used for weather forecast, they'll use for identifying the minerals in the earth. So specific research they'll do. So this is such a small thing, but you can produce the entire thing using 3D printing. That case that we have done live, and I have got the opportunity to present in ISRO also. This is how you can use 3D printing for this one. And you are now able to see on the right side of my screen a big SUV. It's called rover. Now NASA is going to send these rovers to Mars. The next expedition of NASA is they are going to send human beings to Mars with these rovers. They are already developed these rovers, and they are testing in Arizona deserts, where they use 3D printing for producing 70 parts out of 70 major components of this rover are produced using 3D print technology. We are going to see how this application of 3D printing aerospace. This is another popular area where 3D printing is becoming very popular. Next, you can see on the bottom, you can see here a particular helmet like this. It's like a mask. I hope you are all you are all movie buffs, and you might have seen a lot of movies, Hollywood movies. In most of the Hollywood movies now, they are using the 3D printing like anything. It become one of the part of the production. How in the production house of any film industry, in most in Hollywood, there is a studio called Legacy Studio where there are a lot of engineers around mechanical, electronics, and you call it as a computers guy. All of them they developed this Legacy Effects studio in which they produce different types of what you call mask, different types of weapons, different types of models for the weapons, different types of you call figurines, all of them. So they use 3D printing a lot in producing this. This is the helmet of Iron Man. You might have seen the movie called Iron Man 1, 2, 3. Very popular movie. Those they use 3D printing. Let us see how 3D printing can be used in this entertainment industry also. Because something now we all like movies, but you imagine as an engineer, your role is there in these movies also. I hope some of you might have seen our old Telugu movies called Vitlacharya movies, right? In Vitlacharya movies, he has used lot of technology what is available at that time when the demons and the kings will fight together. So those things at that time he has done using what you call basic mechanical lever mechanisms, etc. But now people are now using 3D print technologies to make amazing things, which you when you see on the screen, it appears very great. Nowadays, all the movies are very successful because of screenplay. So we are going to discuss how 3D printing or additive manufacturing can be used in entertainment industry. This is what I am telling you is why I call innovative is, which as a mechanical engineer, we never thought we are there in these fields. Yeah, now we are going to see how in these fields also you can go and show your skills. You are there, you are required there, and if you show your skills, you got a lot of demand this, right? So that's what I say. You break the barriers. Don't think only mechanical means I do a finite element and crankshaft connecting all of them. So you try to think innovatively. But the technology which will help you in making that innovative things possible is using 3D print technology, right? You can see these shoes also on the screen. This shoes is a screen is a Reebok shoes. It is popular shoes, and this is made using 3D print technology. So you are there in the sports industry. Sports industry is also embracing this technology a lot, and this is very popular in the sports industry. So I'm going to touch all these fields. This is your electronic communication. It's called horn antenna. You are able to see my cursor at the bottom right corner. This is the electronic horn antenna. This is produced using 3D print technology, right? So this is a earlier they used to produce this using conventional sheet metal process, but now they adopted 3D print technology to so that your loss in signal gets reduced. And what you are seeing the next on the screen is a food processing industry. In food processing industry, all the 3D printing is going to make lot of changes. So it's what you call it. It's a technology which is changing the food processing industry a lot. And future you are going to see 3D printers which produces pizzas, which produces cakes, which produces chocolates, everything. Already these printers are existing, but now they are going to slowly become popular. And now you can see on the screen at the bottom, I hope you are able to see. You are able to see this on the from the wall. It is appearing a horse is coming out. This is called props. These are called props, and these are used.
Hello, sir. It's not audible. Hello, Sivaramakrishnan.
I think some network problem, sir.
Network problem. అంటే
Video is
inform
also
చేయాలి కదా.
paused.
Yeah, 1 second. Just wait for a minute because there is a network issue. Sir will be joining. Sir will be joining. Just wait for a minute. There may be a network problem there. Just
Now it visible, sir? Hello?
Share the screen, sir.
I was asking able to
Share
reason.
the screen.
I thought
Yeah.
it's
Where? From last 3 minutes, it's not coming, sir.
This is the it is over, sir. Up to this.
Yes. Okay.
Now,
Okay.
right. Oh, just I have missed only one slide, sir. Right.
Okay. No problem.
So this is the basic processing in 3D printing, where you can see the first is the CAD model. So CAD model you can develop starting from scratch, or from you can as well as develop from what you call existing model. You can scan it and develop the CAD model, or you can as well as take, if you are doing a biomedical modeling, then you have to take a CT, MRI scan, the DICOM format, make the CAD model. So this CAD model should be exact. Otherwise, if your CAD model is not correct, your final product also will not be correct. So it is like garbage in, garbage out. In computers, we call garbage in, garbage out. So if your initial model is correct, then the final model will be also very correct. Once you do it, then you have to convert into STL file format. This is called triangulation. Once you do it STL file format, then there will be some kind of errors. So when you convert a STL file format, you have to send it to the computer which is attached to the 3D printer. So once you send there, then you have to remove the errors, because what are the surfaces you are converting into triangles. So when you convert triangles, for example, there are some curved surfaces. There will be a gap between the curved surface and triangle, because triangle has got straight edges. So those gaps you have to rectify. You have to remove those gaps. So that you have to remove, once you remove those errors, then you make it prepared. Then the G code will be developed on its own. Then that information will be sent to the 3D printer. 3D printer will now produce according to that information. And it may be different technologies you can adopt, like SLS, stereolithography apparatus, SLS, selective laser sintering, or you can use fused deposition modeling, etc. Adopt different technologies based on your requirement. And once you produce the part, then you have to do post-processing. Post-processing means here you have to either, for example, you are doing a powder-based 3D print technology like SLS you are using. So still the powder which is not sintered or which is not exposed to the laser beam, that will be in loose form. So you have to remove those loose form using air blasting or using sand. You want to increase the strength, you can do sand blasting. Or you may have, because generally when the part comes out of the machine, or especially SLS, everything will be in white color. You want to have some colored one, then you can have to do painting. Or for example, you're using stereolithography apparatus, SLA, the resin-based technology, then what you have to do is you have to cure the object, because why curing is, even it's a liquid base, once you produce the part, still there will be some liquid sticking onto this surface of this object. So you have to cure it in a oven. So that is another post processing. Or in FDM, you have support material, you have to remove that support material. So these are the post processing techniques. So basically there are 5 steps in 3D printing, any 3D printing process, that is 3D CAD modeling, data conversion, transmission. That is, then you have to do error removal. This is a very important step. Once you may remove error removal using different algorithms. There are different algorithms developed for removing errors. Then you have to build a part. Then finally you have to do post processing. So this is basically important steps in any 3D printing process, right? Now I am not going to, as I said, I am not going to talk complete fundamentals of 3D printing. I am now concentrating only on application of the direct digital manufacturing, or you call it as 3D printing process. Now I am going to concentrate on these 4 case studies today. One is orbital volume case, how 3D printing can be used in helping doctors in solving the case on orbital volume, in cranioplasty surgery, and as well as in facial aesthetics.
Yes.
Again gone, huh?
Again, not here.
Sir, network పోయింది సార్, కనెక్షన్ ఇప్పుడే వచ్చింది. Is it audible, sir, now? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Audible. So there is some network, internet problem is there. So I switch it on to my mobile hotspot. I put that.
Right, sir. No problem.
Right. Let us see. Now, I said earlier also, the doctor originate joint hands in solving such a case, interest in solving such human problems. So you can see in most of the now medical facility you go, you see lot of instruments there. If you go for a small fever, also doctor asks you to get what you call the diagnosis done. They use lot of instruments for those diagnosis. So you can you see, you are going for a CT or MRI scan, you use an equipment which is developed by an engineer basically. So here we are helping doctors in solving some critical case studies. Definitely, I don't say we are going to replace a doctor, but we are definitely helping doctor in making a successful operation or successful diagnosis. So we are making an additional hand to the surgeon. Let us understand why 3D printing is used in medicine, why it is very important. Because for visualization, curvilinear complex anatomy. So human anatomy is not like a rectangle or like a star, a circle or like a ellipse. It's not a regular product. It is a combination of different curvature. So for a person to understand that curvilinear, because you see your head itself, your topology is completely different from this stage to this stage. And here what you see is it is not a regular shape. So for a person to understand the complexity of the injury or the complexity of the things, what is happening inside, it's always better to have a 3D physical model with it. If you have a 3D physical model, then you can get a physical feel and you know what is your area of interest. For example, there is a fracture at this side. When you have a fracture at this side, definitely you want to understand how that fracture happened. That is my region of interest you call here. To understand this region of interest, you require physical models. And these physical models, what they will do is, it will help in communication to the educate patient. For example, let us understand, imagine, for example, there is a fracture in your happened to you. When the fracture happened, immediately what the doctor will tell, get a X-ray. So once you get X-ray, can any patient understand by seeing the X-ray how the fracture happened? It is, I think it's very difficult. Even X-ray or CT scan also, they are all 2D images. Even only doctor who has done medicine can understand how the fracture happened. But if you have a 3D model of that, even you can educate the patient how that fracture happened. So you will be very happy. Patient will know, okay, this is what is actually happened. So you will get confidence by the procedure what doctor is telling to you, right? That is one important thing. You can communicate and educate the patient how that fracture happened. Next one is, it will help doctors in exactly diagnosing and plan their surgery perfectly. And it is also useful in rehearsing and simulation of surgery. Before they do actual work on that actual operation, they can do practice on this model, so they get more confidence before they perform the operation. And you have creation of customized prosthetics. So you can develop customized account, because nowadays the prosthetics are available, but they are more generic in nature. So the prosthetic which they developed are generic in nature, means they may not fit exactly to that patient. So patient will always feel uncomfortable, because the prosthetic which he has used is not made according to his anatomy. So if you make a prosthetic according to the anatomy of individual patient, that is called mass customization. If you can do it, the patient will be very happy, because it's like operation successful but patient dead. So if the operation is successful but patient is always feeling uncomfortable using that prosthetic, but if you can make this prosthetic very well, then it will definitely help him. So here 3D printing helps in developing customized prosthetics, and you can develop accurate implants also. That's how 3D printing became very popular in planning, preparing, and practicing the surgery. So this is how 3D printing is very popular in medicine. Let us see the transformation that 3D printing brought. It has brought the transformation from a 2D image to a 3D model. It has brought, you can see here, right? So that's what the transformation 3D printing has brought. Now there are a lot of applications, biomedical, like you do orthopedic implants, you can see human anatomy, surgical aid instrumentation, all of them you can use 3D printing. Like even in tissue engineering, they're using 3D printing technology like scaffolds, that is supporting structure for building the implants inside the body itself. Like you want to grow the organ on a organ in the inside the body. So when you want to grow that particular region, that is where you want to put an implant, you require some support structure. Support structure is like a scaffold. In a civil engineering, you see when you construct a home, what you do there is before you lay down the roof, you put a wooden scaffold structure on which you lay down the roof, and after that cures, immediately you remove the scaffold structure. So here also, for making such complex supporting structure in the human body, you require 3D printing. I hope you can see such a complex structure. You can see it is unimaginable to be manufactured using conventional process. You can produce using 3D printing. You can produce these complex parts. Like this, you can use 3D printing now for bioprinting also. Printed organs are also come. Still, it is not there. It is still in the research stage. But in future, you may expect an artificial ear, replicated stem cells. You can see an artificial skin, printed kidney, and artificial bladder. All of them are going to be a reality in future after some years. Still, they have made, but still it is some kind of problem is still coming up. So it is not fully commercialized. It is still in the research labs. Let us see what is the procedure for creating medical models. You have to take a CT scan image in the DICOM format. It's called digital imaging and communication medicine. Once you take the CT scan in the DICOM format, that you have to capture using any kind of 3D ultrasound or CT scan, any medical software you have to medical equipment you have to use for capturing that data. Once you capture it, you have to put in a medical dedicated software like Mimics or 3D Doctor, etc. These are the three medical imaging processing softwares, you call them as. They are dedicated for converting these CT scan images, etc., to a 3D CAD model. So they are very famous in this. They are called image processing softwares like Mimics or 3D Doctor. Once you develop the CAD model from it, convert it to STL file, that is stereolithography file. Once you develop the stereolithography file, then send it to the 3D printing machine. Then it will produce the part. Then after you get the part, then you do post processing. That is, you remove, like as I said, you remove support materials or do some kind of air blasting. All those things you have to perform here. Once you do it, you get the final part. So these are the basic steps involved. So input for us in a medical modeling is the CT or MRI scan, which you have to take in the DICOM form, which is nothing but digital imaging and communication medicine. DICOM is called digital imaging and communication medicine. So if any audience, if any participant have questions, they can ask, they can stop in between, ask questions, no problem. Or you can post your question in the chat box also, right? Let us see what is the role of each person in this entire medical process, our biomedical 3D printing application. First, your input is your patient. From the patient, you take the CT image, CT scan image you take. But for taking that, you have to use a tomography instrument. That is your CT instrument you have to use. Then here, the persons who are working here is the radiologist and the surgeon. Both of them. Your role is not there here. Radiologist and surgeon will take care of that. Once you get the CT image, then you have to convert the CT image into a 3D model. That is, as I said, using a dedicated software like Mimics, etc. Here, as a computer graphic expert, an engineer is required here to develop this CAD model. So you are there here, and the surgeon is always with you, because in entire 3D biomedical application, surgeon will be always with you because he is the right person to validate your work. So without his validation, you cannot proceed further. Once you get the 3D CAD model, then you have to convert into a physical object, that is RP model or 3D printed model you develop. So there you may adopt different technologies, like here is showing stereolithography, but you may use FDM, you may use SLA based on the part you are using. Here, the people who are working there is the rapid prototyping expert and the surgeon. Once you get the RP model, then you have to do the validation of the RP model. This is done by surgeon again. So once you do validate, surgeon will check whether the RP model you have developed is correct or not. If you find some kind of error, some editing is required, then you do editing in the 3D model. Then they will do virtual surgical planning they can make. They may use a software for STL editing. That means what are the errors the surgeon found, you have to remove those errors using this STL editing software. There again, your role is there as a computer graphic expert, your role is there. And again, the surgeon will see it. Then you do virtual surgical planning and you validate the virtual surgical planning. The surgeon will be there, and relevant measures based on the virtual surgical planning is doing, you take a corresponding measures and you finally select the RP model. So after doing iteration, finally you make a RP model. Then finally, doctor will perform the operation on the patient, right? So you can see in most of the important phases, you are there to help doctors in developing the CAD model. You are helped there to developing your 3D printed model, and again validating that model also. You are there to help the doctor. So these are the phases in which different people will act in biomedical application. I hope you got the point. What is the role of each person in developing a biomedical 3D printed model, right? Let us see now how, what are the steps involved. As I said, no, the steps involved is importing the medical data. So what are the CT scan image you got here, DICOM format you have to import. Now your question comes, sir, how you get the 3D CAD model from it. So here important thing is called thresholding. What is thresholding? Like for example, when I take an image, when I take an image on the skull here, I'm interested in seeing how the fracture happened inside the bone. But when I take the image along with the skull bone, I'll also get a soft tissue like skin here also at the top. So this skin has got different image value. When you take photograph also outside, each surface has got different what you call image or reflection. So based on which you can select which image you are interested to get. For here in this case, I'm interested to get the bone inside this. So when I'm interested to get the bone has got some specific value of image that is called thresholding. In image processing you call it as Hounsfield units, you call it as. So that pixel value you want to capture only the bone, so you select that bone threshold value only. Once you select it, the skin, everything that will vanish from your image, only the bone will come out from this. So that means I am growing the bone here, that is called thresholding. So here I am interested to get only that bone area. So I select the corresponding threshold value, I get the bone out. So then I develop the 3D CAD model of that. Then I will remove what are the unnecessary things, I remove that. Then I grow that region. Once I grow the region, then I construct the part. So this is the final part you get outside. So thresholding is the first action performed to create a segmentation mask or a set of digital images. And thresholding is based on Hounsfield units. And it was done to ensure that segmentation object which contains only those pixels of image with a defined value. That means I'm interested only in bone. I take only bone. I remove other things from the image. I'll separate other things from that image which is collected during the CT scan. This is what happens here. So this is how the workflow. So I select the file, import in the DICOM image. I am talking in general. This may be any software you may use, Mimic software or InmatchLess, or you may use 3D Doctor, any of these softwares you can use. And then you have to select the DICOM directory and select the image import. Then you can see there are 3 screens here. When you see this, any software you see, there are 3 areas. I will show these 3 areas with the help of a live case study. And I am going to select the threshold value. For example, I am interested in bone. I am selected threshold value range of 226 to 3071. Once I select it, in this bottom 4th corner, you can see the exact part which is required that will grow here, that will project here. Like in your drawing also, you have front view, top view, side view. In medical imaging also you have different views. So I am from these 3 views, I selected this one. I have selected this one, right? When I select this region, what happens is automatically that part only will grow here. So I selected this region, this will grow, and you can see select crop in tool menu to crop the portion of the maxilla, mandible, and then it will grow here, right? This is how the part has grown in the 4th window. It has grown here. This is what happens in a 3D printer. You have to take care of this one. So you get the actual part which you are requested, which are required in this modeling. So select export 3D surface as STL data. Then once you do it, you get this. This is what I said the threshold value for bone tissue 1000, for liver 40 to 60, for white matter 46, for gray matter 43, for blood 40, muscle. So you based on this one, you have to select the corresponding threshold value. And these are the various biocompatible metals that are used, like stainless steel, titanium, polymethyl methacrylate, polyether ether ketone, calcium hydroxyapatite, acrylamide butadiene styrene. All these are the biocompatible metals that are prominently used in these applications. Let us see the first case study on how this method is used in orbital volume analysis in mid-facial fractures using 3D printing technology. Sir, Srinivas sir, just 1 minute, sir. Srinivas sir. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, 1 minute, sir. There is
I understood.
urgent one phone call is there, sir. I'll